Happy opening day. Happy Sweet 16. The Sweet 16 and opening day are here. Opening day, the day this is coming out, it is opening day today. Happy opening day to all. A glorious day. Phillies versus Braves. Rematch of the NLDS. Potentially a preview of the NLCS. Preview of the playoffs again for the third straight year, potentially. We'll get into that later in the show. You got the Sweet 16. We'll get into that later in the show. The tournament's been weird, but we'll get into that shortly. First, I want to talk about some NFL rule changes. That's the first order of business here on Uncaged Sports Talk, episode 35. Let's get into some rule changes without further ado. Some rule changes. There's one that's been talked about a lot so far that I got an opinion on. I'll actually save that one for last. It's number 2 on the list if you're watching on YouTube. But starting off, coaches will get a third challenge, which I think that's a good rule. So if you get one of your first 2 challenges right, you get a third challenge. If you get neither of your first 2 challenges right, you don't have a challenge after that. Like, you're out of challenges. But if you just get one of them right, you get a third. The trade deadline will be 1 week later, which I think is an all right rule. I don't see any problems with that. Let's see more if they're in the race or not. The kickoff rule being changed, it's going to be XFL style, which I think that's a really good rule for the NFL there. It's going to lead to more kickoffs being returned. You're not going to have as many touchbacks. I'll go ahead and show people watching on YouTube what that's going to look like if you're not familiar with it. If you're not familiar with it, I don't know if you guys could hear me with that because I'm not sure how that works on here. The audio works on here. Even though I've been 35 episodes in, I think when I play a video like that, it mutes me. But if you're not familiar with that, they start about 5 yards apart. They start closer to the runner, but they cannot move until the ball is caught. And the kicker starts further back on the kickoff. So it'll lead to more kickoff returns, which was an exciting part of football that died in recent years, within the last 10 years. That should be coming back. A lot more kickoff returns, you'll see, within the next 2 years. I think that's a really good rule. Now, the all-controversial hip drop tackle. Does anyone think this is a good rule? Like, I know that there's been injuries with it, but those injuries are rare. It's fluke injuries. Football is a contact sport. Like, you're not going to be able to stop injuries no matter how much you try. Let's be real. The NFL is not getting rid of this because of injuries. They're getting rid of this because they want to see offense. And it leads to offensive players getting hurt, which makes offenses worse. Scoring was down in the last 3 years. Let's face it. The NFL is doing this because they want to see offense. Does anyone think this is a good rule? Every good opinion I've heard, any relevant person in the NFL world has disagreed with this rule. Anyone that's played tackle football has disagreed with this rule. You're taught. When you're taught drag the guy down by any way possible. You're not worrying about if his leg's getting trapped or not. You're taught wrap up and drag down. How are you supposed to get a tight end down that's running full speed forward and you're behind him? You wrap up and you drag him down. Now that could be called for a flag. I'll show 2 examples, and ask you, what are they supposed to do? I'll actually do that right now. Here's Logan Wilson tackling Mark Andrews. Yes, Mark Andrews got hurt. But again, it's a fluke play. It's a fluke play. It's a fluke injury. The opening drive. Andrews, slip move. What else is Logan Wilson supposed to do on that play? What else is he supposed to do on that play? There's not much else he can do on that play. Or else Mark Andrews is gonna score a touchdown. You're coming from the side. If you go full force into him, his head's most likely gonna hit. the ground, and then Mark Andrews is gonna get a concussion. So he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. There's not much you can do there. RG3 posted it and said for his defensive players, because he tagged a lot of former defensive players, what are they supposed to do here? He posted that exact video. Emmanuel Acho, former NFL linebacker, said the only other way to tackle him would have been to start as his knees/ankles or flying tackle him like B-Doc used to do. But 55, Logan Wilson, chose the best approach. You wrap up and you drag him down. Or else Mark Andrews is going to drag you into the end zone if you just try to tackle him forward. Physics doesn't work like that. You're not tackling a guy forward. You're wrapping him up and you're bringing him down any way possible. And let's think about it. Full speed, are any guys actually going to think, oh, wait, let me not drag him down? No. You're going to get him down any way possible. That's going to be your goal. Your goal is going to be get that guy down any way possible. Here's another play. Like, if something like this happens in a big game this year and they call it, I think that's the moment football dies. J.J. Watt even already said, you'll see the flag, you'll see belts on him in like 5 years. But that's a little I think this rule might be taken back eventually with all the backlash it's received. But let's watch this play. From the Super Bowl, Rams-Titans. I know everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say that. They were a yard short. They would have won the Super Bowl if this was a rule back then. What is the guy supposed to do in this scenario? Literally, what is he supposed to do? It is caught by Dyson. Can he get in? How else are you supposed to tackle him? Oh, please. I'd love to see someone say it in the comments. I want to see how someone and give a good explanation. How else are you supposed to tackle that guy? There's no other way. Or you're losing the Super Bowl in that scenario. Throw a flag there. Please throw a flag there, and that'll be the moment football dies. You throw a flag in a scenario like that, there's no other way to tackle the guy. There's no other way to stop the guy from getting a touchdown. That's the day football dies. Yeah. If this was a rule back then, the Titans would have won a Super Bowl. But they were a yard short because the guy tackled him properly. Like, how else are you supposed to tackle a guy running forward when you're behind him? You wrap him up and you drag him down any way possible. I'm just not a fan of this rule at all. I think this is a horrible rule by the NFL that they should take back eventually. Like, players should be able to vote on this, and I guarantee even offensive players would vote no for this rule. I guarantee it would be like 90-10. Only 10% of players would vote to ban the hip drop tackle. It's a horrible rule. Worst rule in the NFL in years. Maybe one of the worst rules ever to get passed. I had to get that off my chest. I had to talk about that. This will be a little bit of a shorter episode, I can already tell. As it will be a sweet episode, though. As we get into some Sweet 16 talk, I'm going to give my Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, and National Champion predictions in a second chance bracket. Here we go. So, for my second chance NCAA men's tournament bracket, UConn, San Diego State. I think UConn gets it done here. I think UConn's the better team. They're on a roll right now. All the 1 seeds and 2 seeds are dominating in this tournament. UConn has just rolled over the 2 teams they played, Stetson and Northwestern. I think Iowa State beats Illinois. It's a little bit of the Big Ten syndrome here, basically, is what I'll call it. Big Ten always chokes in the NCAA tournament. I think Iowa State gets it done. Iowa State has showed up in big games so far, beating Houston in the Big 12 championship. Iowa State gets it done against Illinois here. Big 12, Big 10, Big 12 prevails. In the West, North Carolina, Alabama. Alabama's offense has been on fire. They had a little bit of a scare against Grand Canyon University, GCU, the Anteaters. Their offense has been on fire, but North Carolina is one of the better teams in the country. They're running through teams for the most part. They started out a little slow in their opening game of the tournament, but North Carolina gets it done here against Alabama. Clemson, a team that was slow coming into the tournament, not looking good coming into the tournament. Everyone was picking them to lose round one. Got it done, and they are on a roll as they beat Baylor after that. They just needed the one win under their belt, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get past Arizona. I don't think that those two wins are going to propel them past Arizona. Arizona has the home court advantage in this. It's in Los Angeles. Clemson has to go across the entire country. Arizona gets it done and heads to the West Regional Final. In the Midwest, you got Purdue Gonzaga. For my bracket challenge, this is a big game. I think Gonzaga gets it done. It's another one of those Big Ten teams. Big Ten teams don't do great in the NCAA tournament. Purdue lost in round one last year. I think Gonzaga gets this game done. I think they actually get this game done. I think Gonzaga beats Purdue. Purdue falls, and I believe that'll be the last Big Ten team remaining in the tournament. There's only two left, and I think Gonzaga knocks off the final one. Creighton, Tennessee. Tennessee's playing really well right now. Dalton Connect's had a good tournament so far. I got Creighton in this game. Creighton's a solid team. They've had a solid tournament. They started slow in their first game, but they're a good team this year. I think Creighton gets the job done and heads to the Elite Eight. NC State Marquette. This is a game that I'm a little iffy on right here. NC State's a hot team. They won the ACC tournament. They're very hot right now, but then you got Marquette and Shaka Smart. They got to the Sweet 16. They're the 2 seed. They have been winning with pretty much ease for the most part. NC State is the hot team, but I'm taking Shaka Smart and Marquette here to get this game done. Tyler Kolek and Marquette and Shaka Smart get it done and head to the South Regional. Houston versus Duke to head to the Elite Eight. Duke pulled off a win that not many people expected them to win, and they won fairly handedly against JMU. They beat the Dukes, but Duke is not playing the Dukes this time. They're not playing a 12 seed. They're playing the Houston Cougs. The Houston Cougars get the job done. They move on to the Elite Eight. Houston Marquette to head to the Final Four. I got Houston in this. I think Houston shows up in this game. Houston gets to the Final Four. They're one of the better teams in NCAA this year. I think they get the job done when it matters. Gonzaga Creighton. I think this would be a hell of a game. Two good programs. I think Gonzaga gets the job done here. Gonzaga has a history here in March Madness. Creighton, yes, they got Craig McDermott as their head coach, but I think Gonzaga gets the job done here against Creighton. The experience for Mark Few and his Gonzaga Bulldogs comes up big against Creighton here to get to the Final Four. Gonzaga heads to Arizona. Arizona, North Carolina. It's in Los Angeles, which bodes well for Arizona. North Carolina has to travel all the way across the country. North Carolina is a better team. They are the better team in this scenario. And no West team has won a national title since 1997, the last being the Arizona Wildcats. I think North Carolina gets it done. I think Arizona comes up small yet again. I think North Carolina gets it done. North Carolina is a better team. They have all the criteria of what it takes to be a national champion this year. North Carolina gets it done against Arizona. Now, if Arizona wins that, I think there's a good shot that they go on and win the national championship. But I'm taking North Carolina there. UConn, Iowa State. Like I said last week, it is hard for a team to go back to back. The team starts to get fatigued towards this point in the year. With that being said, though, UConn is playing at a different level. Like, I don't see any fatigue setting in yet. Iowa State already knocked off Houston, but they will not knock off UConn here. The UConn Huskies and Dan Hurley move on to the Final Four. UConn, North Carolina to go to the national championship. Give me UConn over North Carolina here. UConn's just on a roll. UConn clearly looks like the best team in the country right now. Give me UConn over North Carolina. Houston, Gonzaga. Gonzaga, they're a good team, but Houston is a great team. It's that simple in this game. Gonzaga is not the team they've been in the past. They're a good team, but Houston's a great team. Give me Houston national championship of the two best teams in the country, Houston and UConn. Give me the UConn Huskies to win the national championship. UConn's just on a roll right now. Like they're just rolling through everyone. They're on a mission. They're going for back to back. They're trying to be the first team since the 06-07 Florida Gators to win back to back national titles. And for the total points scored in this game, I'd say it scored like 75-72, which puts us at a total score of 147. That is my bracket here on Uncaged Sports Talk for the Sweet 16 and onwards. I got UConn winning the national championship at this point. The UConn Huskies will be your 2024 national champions. 1 and 2 seeds are doing a lot better than expected in this tournament. And with the Gonzaga pick over Purdue, there's always at least 1 5 seed that moves on to the Elite Eight. Like it's a trend that at least 1 5 seed is in the Elite Eight or further. And Gonzaga is going to be that team this year. I wanted to go through that, give them a little Sweet 16 and onwards predictions for the remaining NCAA tournament picks. Should be exciting. There hasn't been many upsets this year, which later on, that's what you want to see. You want to see all the top teams in a Final Four. It's most exciting. But in the first few rounds, there hasn't been many upsets so far. Kentucky, Oakland, that was a big one. Auburn, Yale, that was a huge one. Shocking. Not many, though, to write home about. Like I said, this will be a shorter episode as we are already about to be on our last topic. I got one more topic before I get to our last one. Phillies talk. Gonna talk some Phillies real quick. Give my thoughts on the Phillies. The Phillies will win 94 games this year. 94 wins. That's my official prediction. Have number 1 ranked bullpen in all of baseball. They're going to do bullpen by committee. You got Kirkern, who's young, expected to take a big jump this year. Sir Anthony, hopefully he can bounce back. Good bullpen here in Philadelphia. The lineup, I love the lineup except for the Rojas spot. I was talking with my dad. I don't understand the love for Rojas here in that 9 spot. Give me Pache in that spot. Pache was a top prospect just a few years ago. He can hit at least 265. I would expect him to hit 265 plus. He's a really good outfielder. Like Rojas is a Gold Glove outfielder, but Pache can be a really good outfielder himself, and he has a good bat. He has the potential as well. He was a great prospect a few years ago. I want Pache instead of Rojas in that last spot in that outfield. A lineup of Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos, JT, Stott, Marsh, Pache. Give me that lineup all day long. Give me that lineup all day long. That lineup would match up against any lineup in baseball. Sure, it doesn't have the top 3 of the Dodgers in Shohei, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. But after that, yeah, the Dodgers have Max Muncy and others. But their lineup weakens out in that bottom third. The Phillies, give me their lineup all day long. Against any lineup. It matches up well against any lineup. The starting rotation. Ranked second in all of baseball. It's already ranked second in all of baseball. You got Nola. You got Wheeler. You got Ranger Suarez. You got Christopher Sanchez, who a lot of people are expecting to take a big jump. You got some young guys who could step into that other role if Taijuan Walker doesn't work out this year. You got some guys who can. You got McAble in the farm. You got Griff McGarry in the farm system. One of those guys could maybe impress in the minors this year and work their way up, which I wouldn't be shocked if that happens to be a 5th starter. I'd take that. You got Matt Strahm, who's in the bullpen, but he could also be a 5th starter if need be. I like this Phillies team. I think this Phillies team has a lot of potential this year to do a lot of damage this year. Now, I do not think they will win the division. I think they lose the division again. I think the Braves are still the Braves. The Braves will have a dominant regular season. Just a choke in the playoffs. You'll see that in a second. Why I just said that. But I'm excited about this Philly season. I got them winning 94 games. Most they've won since 2011. It should be a very exciting Philly season. Hopefully, they start off on a good note today against the Braves. Wheeler versus Strider. Strider's about to be in hell again. Strider's going to be in hell in Philadelphia for an hour because he's not making it out of the fifth inning. No, he's not making it out of the fourth inning. Strider's going to be in hell again against the Phillies. The Phillies are giving him hell again. Hopefully, Castellanos can take him yard. I don't know if that'll happen, but getting a little ahead of myself here. For Luke's list on this episode, we are doing potential World Series winners. My top 5 potential World Series winners. Now, before I show, I will preface this by saying it is going to be a little biased. Maybe a lot of bias. And I'll say with baseball, I'm in a little bit of a bubble. Like lesser teams, I don't know much about some of the lesser teams. But my top 5 potential World Series winners. And there is a big omission, but they are an honorable mention from the top 5 because I think they could. It's a fatigue with that team that it's the honorable mention. But without further ado, here we go. I'll get into the honorable mention first. The Astros are my honorable mention. The Astros it's just fatigue with the Astros. Astros are still a great team. It's just their team's just getting older. It's just they're bound for a drop off eventually. You could say that about the Braves. You could say that about the Dodgers and so on. But the Astros come in as an honorable mention in this year's ranking so far. Coming in at number 5 is the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles brought in Corbin Burns, made some big additions there in Baltimore. They lost Felix Bautista, one of the best relievers in all of baseball. But Orioles were really good last year. They're going to be really good again this year. They're going to be bringing up their top prospect in all of baseball, Jackson Holliday. The Orioles coming at number 5. Now, a team in their own division in the NL East, there's 5 teams, or the AL East. There's 5 teams or 4 teams on this list in the Eastern divisions. But coming in at number 4, the New York Yankees. The Yankees are going to be banged up to start the year, so they're going to have to weather the storm almost like the Phillies did last year. But if they can make it to the playoffs and be healthy by the time the playoffs come around, you got Garrett Cole. You got a solid rotation there. You brought in Juan Soto this offseason. I think the Yankees have a good shot to get to the World Series out of the American League if they can make it to the playoffs. You just got to stay healthy or get through the beginning of the season. DJ LeMahieu's a bit banged up. Garrett Cole's banged up. Get through the beginning of the season, stay above water, and get to the playoffs. And you guys and that Yankees team can do some damage this year. Coming in at number 3, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The reason I got them at 3 and not 1 or 2, Yamamoto had a bad first start, 5 runs, didn't even get out of the first inning, or only made it 1 inning. Bad first start for Yamamoto. They got a big distraction. I'm not going to give my thoughts on that yet. Going to let that story develop more with Shohei. Not going to assume because we all know what assuming does. So I'll leave that for another day. But they do have a big distraction, which I think is going to might hold them back a little when it comes down to it. The Los Angeles Dodgers come in at number 3 on this list. I do not like the bottom third of the line. The rest of the lineup is outstanding. But give me the Dodgers at 3. Give me the Atlanta Braves at 2. They brought in Chris Sale as an addition this offseason. They were trying to get our boy in Philly, Aaron Nola, but they were not able to. Phillies brought him back. Chris Sale is a great addition for Atlanta. They got him from the Red Sox. Atlanta, though, as great as they are in the regular season, Phillies got their number in the playoffs. Phillies have their number in the playoffs. It's going to be a good race in the NL East this year between the Phillies and the Braves. 2 powerhouses. But give me the Braves at 2. because I think the Phillies are just all around. They got a deep 1 through 9 batting order, depending on who you put ninth. 1 through 8 for sure. You got a good pitching rotation. You got a great bullpen with Alvarado, Sir Anthony, Kirker, Junior Marte, Gregory Soto. You got a good bullpen here in Philadelphia. For once, finally. Don't have Craig Kimbrell again. Kimbrell can go fuck up his. Ooh. First ever time I think of Gus on here. Just got into the flow of talking. Sorry, excuse my language. Sorry, YouTube. Sorry, Spotify. Sorry, Apple Podcast for that. But Kimbrell can go screw up the Orioles season like he did for our season. The Phillies are my number one pick to win the World Series this year. I think the Phillies get over the hump this year. They only have one goal in mind. The entire team only has one goal in mind, is to get over the hump and win the World Series. Go get it done this year. Let's have this parade down Broad Street. Let's go get John Middleton his effing trophy back. Let's go get it back. Let's go be world effing champions, like Chase Utley would say. That'll do it for this episode of Uncaged Sports Talk. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to go visit Dan the Man Stanley at Sheridan Nissan, where he will hook you up with a new car. Just let him know Luke Sarank and Uncaged Sports Talk sent you. That'll do it, though, for this episode of Uncaged Sports Talk. Remember to tune in next week. I will have a guest on, again, hopefully, Trey Manning, who I had on last week. He will hopefully be on again, as we will be talking about WrestleMania week in Philadelphia. WrestleMania week is officially next week. Been looking forward to it for almost a year now. It's in full gear, WrestleMania season right around the corner. Going to be very exciting. Going to give some WrestleMania predictions since it's a local event going on. Remember to tune in next week, though. Like, comment, and subscribe on all of our platforms. It is greatly appreciated. That'll do it for episode 35 of Uncaged Sports Talk.